Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining me. This is the morning market review with myself, Russell Shaw, a senior market specialist at FXCM. And take note of my email address, rshaw@fxcm.com. Today is Friday, it's the 3rd of March. I'm just going to go ahead and bring up our disclaimers. Can I get you to confirm that you can see the screen? Okay, cool. All right, excellent. Just keeping the high risk investment on for a few moments more. All right, and here is our market commentaries disclaimer. And just finally, our references, market scope, and trading view. Trade view first. And that the real daily time it's moving up in a northeasterly direction. If we go down to the 1 hourly, okay, it has started to show some sort of pullback on the 1 hourly. So the way that we can kind of interpret that is perhaps today there is some easing. On the real rate side, but we've got to be very careful because on the majority trend, the longer term trend certainly is telling us that there's headwinds for risk markets, and we might get a break today. So let's just take a look and see if that's the case. And what we'll do is we'll take a look on market scope and see if that's I change cameras here. It seems there's an issue here. This might be a little easier. All right, so I've changed the camera, so I think it will be a little bit easier on the bandwidth. All right, so let's take a look at the DAX. Now, the markets are very complex at the moment because we do have an uptrend on the DAX. We've got a higher trough and a higher peak. But I want to go back to that real rate. That real rate is moving in that northeasterly direction. Whilst we might get some sort of easing today, because we went to that hourly, we sort of putting back on the hourly. I'm quite concerned that the real rate is moving in that northeasterly direction. The reason that we have to be concerned about that is because of the time value of money. We've spoken about this many times, is that the higher the interest rates, the more the impact on the present value. But let's see if there's some opportunity on the DAX here, given that we're in a higher trough, higher peak, and we go through down to the daily, and it's actually confusing. What I can tell you for certain is that we're in the middle channel. We're between the two blue bands. I can say that we're in neutrality. So that's the first thing I can say. The second thing I can say is that the stochastic is in no man's land. We don't have any momentum, and that's the key. Okay, so we're not getting any momentum. Now, take a look at the last two candlesticks over here. We're going to combine these. So this would be Wednesday's candle. This will be Thursday's candle. But let's just have a conversation about these two candles, right? The first candle is effectively what we call a gravestone doji. It's a bearish candle. Bulls try to push price up till they hit the high. Then they lose control and bears really take price right down. That's a gravestone doji. Then yesterday we have what's called a dragonfly doji. Bears try to take price down. Okay, when we did our webinar yesterday, it looked like price was moving down, but it did move down until the day's low, and then the bears lost control, and then the bulls have taken over and have effectively pushed price right back up, right? So now you've got these two dojis together. Now, and it's saying really long legs, and that's right. Look how long leg these are, huge. So there's a lot. So what we can say about this, Anna, is we can say there's been a lot of emotional trading over the last 2 days. That's what the legs are telling us. There's a lot of emotion in the market. What else can we tell us is that the bulls and the bears have effectively got nowhere, okay? Because we're back in neutral, and you can see that price has been pushed down into bearish territory. It's been pushed back up. It's been pushed back down. It's been pushed back up. And guess what? We're in the middle of no man's land. Now, that to me, obviously, spells uncertainty. What we're going to do is let's combine these two candles, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this candle and we're going to take that candle. So we're going to take the range, the high to the low. Okay, so this is the high for the range, and that's the low for the range. Okay, so we've got the range over 2 days. Now it opens on day 1, it closes on day 2. So it opens over here. Opens over here. Now watch this, Anna. Okay, and it closes over here. What kind of candle is this over 2 days? This is just highlighting. Let's make this a real body. It's just highlighting. This is a long-legged. It's a long-legged spinning top. So again, uncertainty abounds, and that's kind of the situation that we find ourselves in. So if we are in the situation where uncertainty is really the order of the day, I think that we can say a little bit more about this thesis, in that it does seem to sort of live in the real rate on the hourly. And I think bulls are nervous to take advantage of it. Why are bulls nervous to take advantage of that? Because the daily is just absolutely moving like a freight train in this northeasterly direction. You can see it's just moving over here. And as long as we get this movement up, we are going to face headwinds. Now, this makes the markets extremely challenging. Actually, extremely challenging. I wanted to show you something that I think is a fairly sort of good-looking chart. If we go through to the NASDAQ, okay, go through to the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ is really looking good on a weekly chart. I think it's looking terrific. I saw a rogue arrow here. Let's see if I can see it. There it is. Let's get rid of that. You can see trough, peak, higher trough, higher peak. Now, look what's happened here. It's pulled back. It's pulled back towards resistance, turn support. Now, that would be, to me, indicative of perhaps the end of some sort of corrective move. So we've seen corrective action over the last 3 weeks, and I would expect some sort of foray into the market by the bulls. In other words, this would probably be on any sort of given day, something that the bulls would consider, except for one problem. The problem is that the interest rates are acting as a headwind against the NASDAQ. And isn't that a shame? Okay, if we have to bring up our Microsoft Paint and just take a look at how trend evolved. We've looked at this before, and we'll look at it again because it really, I think, makes a big difference to the way we understand the market. So here we've got an uptrend. Okay, we know we've got a trough. Let me put in the labels here. Trough, peak. Okay, so you guys can see where I'm going with this. Higher trough, and as soon as you've got the higher peak, well, there's the uptrend. Now, we know that markets don't move in a straight line. We know that markets are going to zigzag, so it's going to pull back. I'm going to make this red. Where's it going to pull back to? It's probably going to pull back. To the last resistance turned support. That's called polarity, and then the principle of polarity, and then we get the trend continuing. Then it goes to this level here, and then it moves up. And that's generally how a trend tends to move. So here we've got a beautiful pullback towards a principle of polarity, right? Here's the principle of polarity, resistance turning into support. The problem is we're getting that headwind. And the reason we're getting the headwinds is quite correct, because inflation is so stubborn. Inflation is ridiculously stubborn, and the markets have to come to terms with, well, is it priced in or is it not priced in? I would suggest that it's not priced in if we're going to go towards that 6%, which is sort of being reported on now. We've got a big red candle here. We've got an inverted hammer or a gravestone doji here. We've got a big red candle here. Now we start the day. We end the week, I beg your pardon, on a spinning top or some sort of doji. In other words, the bears, the momentum that has been taking the bearish price down, that seems to be waning. So I would suggest that the NASDAQ looks quite interesting, and you know, for somebody that's looking for potential value type of trades, well, is it going to cross from the bearish channel into the neutral channel? So there would be some sort of value type of pattern taking place. But that's a high risk trade. So of course one would need to think about it very carefully. Does it really, is it worthwhile? Is the risk worth it? Can I put in my risk management parameters? Can I put my stop loss parameters in? Because of course, even though, and I'm going back to this chart, even though we have got this movement up in the northeasterly direction, it does seem to be giving us a break on the hourly chart. So there might be some sort of risk on that comes into the market just to close out the week. Let's just take a look at one more. I'd like to take a look at the euro here. And the euro is looking very similar to NASDAQ. It's pulled back, okay? It's coming down to support level. Now, if it breaks this higher trough, it's going to break its uptrend. But you can see that it's pulled back. This looks corrective in nature, all right? And then, of course, if it breaks below, we're very close. Then we've got to be thinking about, well, do we get this? And do we get that? So you can see that there is complexities with the euro as well. The complexities are, it looks corrective in nature. The only problem is that it is getting pretty close to breaking its trend. That's not quite the same with the NASDAQ. We go back to NASDAQ, okay? NASDAQ still has some time to go before its trend. What would be quite vicious is if we've got the lower peak followed by the lower trough. Then we go back into downtrend. That would be quite vicious. All right. So markets are confusing. It's not easy markets. What started out as a really good year, 2023 has now evolved into something a lot more complex, something for us to be highly respectful of and to see if we can analyze it and really pass out the information as best we can. All right. With that all said, if there's any questions, please go ahead and type those in. Any questions, please go ahead, type those in. All right, let's wrap up here then. I want to wish you guys a good day ahead and a great weekend. Catch up with you on Monday. Thanks very much, guys.